What's up, everybody? It's your girl. Welcome to China and welcome to my channel, y'all. Usually I am a little bit more chipper and I do talk a little bit more crap, but today I wanted to talk about a more serious topic. You know, we're going to be talking about, yes, Chad Wheeler and the domestic abuse claims, allegedly. This case does have a trigger warning of domestic violence. I'm not going to really hold back in this conversation, so I respect you all if you do have to skip out on this, but I think this is a conversation. If you can push through, let's talk about it. All right, so we're going to be breaking down this Chad Wheeler situation. Many of you may not know, but Chad Wheeler, who is this D-list football player, over the weekend was arrested for allegedly almost murdering and choking to death his black girlfriend, Alleah. The reason why I'm leading with race now, if you don't know, Chad is white, because that is the way that people are starting to portray this. This is not one of the first times this has happened. So I'm just going to let this stream of thought go on, so just bear with me here. But anyway, so the story goes is this: Chad Wheeler is 27 years old. He used to play for the New York Giants in 2017 and 2018, and he was on the Washington Redskins. Basically, his contract a week or two ago, now it doesn't matter, was in limbo. He was basically a free agent. I don't understand football, but that doesn't matter. So they decided obviously not to go with his contract now, but he wasn't a popular football player. So that also plays into this as well. We don't have a lot of backstory on who he is. We didn't get to see his life. He's not a Tom Brady, he's not a Von Miller. He's not someone that we see their lives and their relationships all the time. So that's why it's kind of mysterious who he is, and especially Alleah, who is the victim here, who is his girlfriend, allegedly. Him and Alleah were dating for 6 months. That's really all we know. We have one picture of her from the horrid incident of him almost killing her, and then we have one selfie of her with like a Black Pride shirt on, and then we have another picture of her in like a selfie, and that's all that we have. We do know that her name is Alleah because Chad went ahead on Twitter and tried to cover his tracks and cover his ass. But anyway, let's get back into it. So over the weekend, allegedly, they got into an altercation and he almost choked her to death. He pinned her arms down. He dislocated her arm, as well as putting his hand over her mouth, making sure she's not breathing. She goes unconscious for a minute, but by the grace of God, she was able to push through. She runs to the bathroom. She was able to call the police. She locks herself in the bathroom. He picks the lock, and then they come out and say that he is having a manic episode. So a manic episode, for those who do not know, is when people deal with bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is a mental disorder. It's a mental, ailment. I suffer from anxiety, so that is my mental health. So that's just my thing. So I don't know a lot about bipolar disorder. I do, however, know that to function in many ways successfully, correct me if I'm wrong, again, this is an open conversation, you do need to take your medication. It came out that allegedly Chad was not taking his medication according to his girlfriend at the time. When the police were finally there, she said that she was literally in the midst of getting killed. She said that she was literally being murdered as she was calling the 911 lady. They come, he's in the bathroom, and he's crying and screaming, and he's saying that I'm not a woman beater. I'm not someone who abuses women, and they take him away. Now, the reason why we didn't hear about this case until yesterday late and then today was because he got released on a $400,000 bond between Saturday morning when he was locked up and he got out on Tuesday. Again, he's not a big NFL player, but when these things started to circulate, Twitter came into play. So Alleah, the victim, one of her good friends, made a post on Twitter, and you know us, Black Twitter, Rock Nation Brunch Twitter, Bougie Black Twitter, started to tear it up. The friend went on to make a tweet basically saying, long story short, showing the pictures of the victim. I'm not going to show those pictures, and just showing a text message of her saying that basically she was about to die and he had his smoothie after. So that was a big thing that this man, asked her allegedly, "Oh, you're still alive? I'm surprised," and proceeded to have a smoothie and eat his dinner after. But people are claiming that he was having a bipolar manic episode. I wanted to look up very quickly, what causes mania or what can trigger a manic episode. It says sometimes you may notice that there are specific things that can trigger mania or depression, such as getting too little sleep, changes in routine, jet lag when you travel. Many people find they're more likely to be depressed or manic during stressful times. But I don't feel like that really gives us a really big consensus of, what a manic episode is. In my life, I have encountered folks who, do deal with this, and it is very, very difficult. So I don't want to speak on that experience because I don't understand it, but I know it is very difficult, and I do know, however, that it is important and very, very intuitive that you do take your medication. So anyway, the bigger picture that people wanted to bring up within this conversation, because this is still developing, now that this is so huge, people want answers. So this is just the beginning stages of this, you guys. We're going to continue to talk about this. So next, it was a big deal that ESPN and no one else wanted to say anything about this until a couple anchors and a couple people on sports podcasts started to talk about it. It was something that, the NFL wanted to suppress. So now this is when the issue of race comes in. As I said a little bit earlier, I don't believe that Chad allegedly abused and beat his girlfriend almost to death because she was black. I don't believe that. I don't think that's why. I think it's a bigger issue of that he is an abuser. He had abusing tendencies, and if it does have to do with his mental health and this happening, that is still unacceptable. But then it becomes a bigger issue of mental health. But anyway, let's get back to the race concept. So everyone's saying, some people are saying, maybe not everybody, but they feel that, this is more of a taboo situation. NFL players beat their wives all the time, I'm just saying. I'm going to put that out there. But the bigger situation is we see a D-list, F-list, Z-list football player who we've never heard of before come out with a domestic violence claim, which is already like, who is he? Who is this? As well as he has a beautiful black girlfriend, and already it's taboo, and we don't see a lot of interracial relationships between black women and white men. I am in a relationship with a white man. I do know that white people are not all bad, and I do know that he wouldn't just beat me because of my race or because I'm black. So I don't think that that is the concept, and I don't want you guys to take that because I am in an interracial relationship with a white man that I don't understand or that I'm defending it, because I'm not. Many NFL players have, over time, Ray Rice, you can definitely look that up, that was sadly a black couple. His career was ruined. It's been many, many cases of many different races of people. You go down to, even to O.J. Simpson. A lot of these things are very, very common. But now that this is someone we never heard of and Twitter comes out, this is a big deal. But a bigger question that I wanted to raise to you guys, and I just really want to know truly your opinion on this situation, is if mental health and claiming that he has bipolar disorder is enough. He also has traces of possibly maybe having CTE. For those who do not know what CTE is, it was a movie that came out called Concussion, and it was starring Will Smith. And it was basically about an African doctor who, this is back in 2015. This is an older movie. It was about a doctor who started to do studies on football players because they were committing suicide and different horrible things were happening, and domestic abuse, because concussions can obviously mess with your cognitive behavior and the brain, because football players or athletes who always are bashing their heads, at the end of the day, they're saying between 40 and 50, it was literally affecting everyone. And it was just like, what is this? So the doctor comes out, and you guys should watch the movie with all these different studies on it, and CTE is definitely a thing. It stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy. CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I'm not Aquila and the Bee. But anyway, you guys, early signs of CTE can be memory loss, confusion, impaired judgment, impulse problems, aggression, depression, anxiety, a lot of different things. So, this man was probably struggling with mental health issues. On top of him not taking his medicine is very hard to enforce. And, he was only with his girlfriend for 6 months, so I'm sure she didn't even know what she signed up for, to be honest. And that's something that's very, very unfortunate in this situation. But I am curious to see how they deal with this case, because usually when it's a big athlete or, a big celebrity, it's a lot more pressure to kind of save their tail, or, if they're a big asset. If he was like a huge football player, would they try and give him a second chance? Would they try to, really claim that he's having a manic episode? But also, we want to claim manic episode to a white man, and I think that's the bigger issue within itself. He got on a $400,000. If he was a black man, I think that they would have put him in with no bond. Honestly, he wouldn't have got out until this case was over. Thankfully, she lived. And that's the only thing that saved his tiny bit of grace in his situation, is that he didn't kill her. But I think he's definitely going to jail. I think between social media, I think between the social awareness and how, we're having these conversations about race, that he is definitely going to get, what is coming for him. I have a couple more final thoughts that I do want to run past you all that I'm going to pull up right here. I appreciate everyone being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button for your girl, because we're getting deep into these things. But also, people wanted to bring up that how are they going to handle the situation with Alleah, with the alleged victim? As we know, black women ourselves, we're some of the most misrepresented people literally in America. People shit on us. We have to prove ourselves. We get unequal pay. We get the low end of the totem pole and a lot of things. And now on top of that, when you deal with domestic violence and domestic abuse, they want to magnify that this happens to black women more than white women, or more than Hispanic women or Chinese women, when this happens to all women. But black women, and specifically, I really, really hope that we're going to be able to get justice for her in this situation, because this is huge. This is absolutely huge, and I think that she'll be able to raise a lot of awareness with this, and I hope that she does use her voice when she feels better, God willing, to tell her story, because this is absolutely crazy. In mainstream media, people like to dumb down situations between black women, and domestic violence, but it happens so much. And, it's very unfortunate now that people want to call, little boy who cried wolf, and say that it's domestic violence that's linked to mental health issues, which I can understand how those things do come together, but also he has to have some type of accountability, or the doctors or whomever, to be making sure that he's taking his medicine. But also, what I do want to say on this of mental health, that it's okay that if you're in a relationship with someone who's in mental health, who's having mental health problems, or you suffer from mental health problems. I have anxiety, so I'm always had to be upfront in all of my relationships about how I was feeling, what was going on with me, and that's very, very important. And I think that this poor woman just bit off a little bit more of what she could chew. I just think that this is just so unfortunate that it had to come down to this, and we had to find out about this, D-list football player, you know, for abusing his wife, and now it's going to be a magnified glass on interracial relationships. And I hope that people don't take this as that this was a race thing between them. It's going to be a race thing with how they handle Chad, and hopefully sending his horrible sorry ass to jail, as well as how they're going to handle the case with us, you know, with a black woman who's not known at all. We have literally 3 pictures of her. So I am just really eager, you guys, to see, you know, what your feelings are about this situation. It's very unfortunate, and, you know, this case is still pending. Like, we just found out about these things. He came out with a statement apologizing and saying that hopefully he can get the healing that he needs, and he's not coming back to the NFL. Obviously, his team dropped him, so all of that is dead. You know, all of that is, like, not happening anymore. But, you know, I am curious to learn more about the victim, Alleah, that we only have literally her name from him. So, like, pictures, if you guys, like, you know, man, I'm not going to show the picture of her, that happening to her, but definitely, you guys, if anybody has an Instagram or anything, like, everyone is honestly curious, you know, to, like, learn more about this woman. And, you know, I hope that we all can just keep her in our prayers. And, yeah. I want to know really what you guys think about this. Do you think this has to do with race? Do you think that he hurt her because she was black? Do you think that they're going to deal with him differently because he's white and mental health? I mean, that's what I think, that because he's a white man, they're going to let him off easy. I do think that, and claim mental health. When we see black men twice, we just seen the pastor who was having him literally calling out for the Lord on his lawn. The family tried to do the right thing by calling the police. They shoot him dead. So it's like, if he was black, we wouldn't have gotten this far. We know if it was a black man who beat up his white girlfriend, that would be over with. But okay, I'm going to stop here. I also want to know, you know, does this make black women fear white men? You know, I feel like white men are always depicted as, you know, the suppressor. In a lot of ways, white men, if they're not helping us sisters, then they are helping suppress us. And being in an interracial relationship myself, I do have a spouse that builds me up and that supports me and that doesn't bring race into anything. But also in a lot of aspects, you know, race does affect relationships, and I would be lying if it's not differences. So I just really would love to know what you guys feel about that. All right, y'all. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I would love to hear how you guys feel about this. And until next time.